Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Ken with Black Conference TV. I hope you are having a great day today. I guess everybody's probably getting ready for the holidays. Before we do that, or maybe after we do that, or maybe sometime after you can look at this video. But I wanted to put together a few clips and just maybe discuss some things that I think some of the reasons why we are going through what we're going through in this country, why we're always the bottom, why our money is always the lowest, and why we are not seeming to be able to elevate ourselves. Some of us might elevate, but as a whole, African Americans in this country are in a dire situation. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, with that said, I'm going to play this short video. I'm going to make it short. It's a little bit long, but I'm going to make it short. And it's going to give you some insight onto why, will give you some of the reasons why we have come to this situation in America and some of the reasons that has happened in such a way that it keeps us from being successful. I mean, as a whole, as a people as a whole, because like I said, there are some people out here that do have success in this country. Some people have lived the American dream, but it's in the American dream within a certain framework. It's not true freedom. It's a freedom, but it's a controlled freedom. It's where we don't really have the freedom to do things that we want to do totally. So watch this video, and then I'll come back on the other end, and we'll discuss a little bit more about this, okay? All right, here we go.
It can be difficult for any business to succeed, but Black entrepreneurs have historically faced unique challenges. Congress passed the Freedmen's Bureau Act in 1865, awarding compensation to freed slaves in the form of 40 acres and a mule, after for Black wealth in America burned, stripping families of their opportunity to create generational wealth.
Having a family background in business is really important. So for example, if your parents are business owners, you're twice as likely to be a business owner yourself than someone who doesn't have parents that are business owners. Now, if you go back, a generation or two generations, if you have low business ownership rates then it gets kind of passed along to future generations. And so that creates this kind of barrier that you don't have that family business experience.
Real estate is one of the most common ways to build wealth in America, but discriminatory housing practices have historically kept Black Americans out of the game. Starting in the 1930s, the Federal Housing Administration refused to insure homes in African American neighborhoods. This is known as redlining.
What would be the reaction of the community to a Negro family moving in?
Oh, I don't think they'd like it.
Black people were kept out of the newly developing suburban neighborhoods and pushed into urban housing projects. Modern-day redlining still exists. According to 2020 data from the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, Black applicants are denied mortgage loans at a rate 80% higher than white applicants. These events laid the groundwork for the increasing wealth gap in America. It is still more difficult for African American entrepreneurs to get and stay in business. About 6.5 million businesses are launched in the United States each year. There are 6 different types of businesses to file under. Each of these defines how a company will handle taxes, liabilities, ownership, and finances. There are 30.2 million small businesses in the US. They make up about 99% of all businesses, but only a fraction of them survive. 20% of small-owned businesses fail by the first year, 30% by the second, 50% by the fifth, and by the 10th year, a staggering 70% of businesses have shut off their lights.
Some of the most common challenges, though, that do precipitate a business closure relate to fundamental issues, lacking a firm business plan and a concrete business plan with real clear strategic direction, and getting some of the fundamentals in place at the onset.
For minorities, the numbers can be even more daunting. 8 out of 10 Black-owned businesses fail within the first 18 months. and despite making up 17.6 and 13.2% of the population, Hispanics and Blacks make up 5.8 and 2.1 of all employer businesses, or in other words, businesses with paid employees. For reference, white employers make up 88% of overall sales and control 86.5% of U.S. employment, according to the Small Business Administration. Lack of capital is the biggest challenge for African American small business owners, and studies show that Black-owned firms have weaker ties with banks. According to a 2019 survey by the New York Fed, fewer than 1 in 10 Black non-employer firms have a recent relationship with a bank, compared with 1 in 4 white-owned non-employer firms. And less than 47% of financing applications filed by African American business owners get approved. According to evidence from the survey, the discrepancies aren't due to Black entrepreneurs applying for financing at a lower rate. Black-owned firms apply for bank financing just as much as white-owned firms, if not more. 28% of Black-owned non-employer firms applied for financing in 2018, compared to 25% of white non-employers. The difference? Black applicants are denied at a higher rate.
They tend to be concentrated in industries that require less startup costs and are less capital intensive. But on top of that, so that setback has an impact as well on the ability to secure bank loans, lines of credit, because of course, in those cases, when you're an entrepreneur, you're starting out, what are you going to pledge? You're going to pledge your personal assets, whether it's your house or other type of collateral. And so if you're starting out where you're at a disadvantage there, that's going to create headwinds for you in securing external capital for your business.
In the summer of 2020, a study by the National Community Reinvestment Coalition found a disparity in the way Black and white loan applicants were treated. The study highlights one example where a Black applicant was turned away for not having an account with the bank. That same bank encouraged a white applicant with a similar profile and credit history to open an account and offered to send PPP information. Fear plays a part too.
Okay, I didn't want to play that whole video. It's kind of long, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. Think about it. So when we think about this, when you hear people talking about us not being lazy and all that kind of stuff, that's not true. Black businesses, Black people have been trying for decades, for centuries, for at least 100 years. Speaking about Black Wall Street, and when they were to be successful, when they were successful, our businesses, our communities have been basically destroyed. So it's not that we are not trying or that we don't have the skills or we're not doing the right things. We are doing the right things, but there's been a concerted effort to keep us from being successful. Concerted effort, that's a very, very good point. Because if you look at this, according to these stats that the guy said, we apply for business loans more than white people do. You know what I'm saying? Probably more than any other group, but we get turned down more than any other group. So that says right there that it's not us. It is that the system is primarily geared to work against us, to keep us from attaining the successful levels of business ownership that we should have, that we could have. Now, some of these things I'm gonna talk about is our own doing. Even though we are being discriminated against in so many different ways as far as, having a business and running a business and getting the funds to run a business, there are things that we can do, and we have those levels of power right in our own community, but we do not use them. We do not use them. Let me just show you something else on how another group of people came to America who were poorer than Americans, than Blacks. We came out of slavery, but these people, they didn't come out of slavery, but they came over here, they saw our idea, and that the point I'm trying to make is that when they had the idea to create a business for themselves, to create something to better themselves, to better their community, they had a little help, but more than that, they didn't give up. They had the will to keep trying to do the thing they need to do. They took a particular industry and ran deep with it, and did pretty good with it. Check this video out.
Probably the last thing audiences noticed in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Actress Tippi Hedren's nails. Who would have thought the screen legend's lustrous manicures would help inspire a $6 billion nail industry with a legion of Vietnamese like Tuan Le?
She gave me so much hope.
In 1975, after the fall of Saigon, Lee and her family fled Vietnam and appeared in this local paper after ending up at a California refugee village with nothing. Hedren, involved in the refugee crisis at the time, became a mentor to Lee and 19 other women with poor English skills but who wanted to work. One thing caught their eye.
One day we looked at her nail, we said, Tippi, your nail looks so beautiful.
They loved my fingernails. So I thought, I'm going to bring my manicurist. She came up once a week and gave them a lesson. They would all practice on each other. They'd practice on me.
An idea was hatched. Hedren convinced a beauty school to train them for free. Lee and the others got licensed and started doing business. Some of those families opened their own salons, building their American dream one coat at a time.
When other Vietnamese would enter the country, they learned about this manicuring business, and it's become huge.
Today, 40% of manicurists in the U.S. are Vietnamese Americans. In California, it's 80%. Tam Nguyen runs Advanced Beauty College geared toward Vietnamese students.
Today, we tribute a lot to the actress Tippi Hedren. In fact, she's been called the godmother of the Vietnamese American nails industry. Everything she did back in 1975 created and paved the path for what I do now.
Nguyen is following in the footsteps of his parents who fled Vietnam in 1975. 3 years later, they opened their own salon and then launched beauty schools. His parents' inspiration? Their high school friend, Tuan Le, the manicurist who received a helping hand from a Hollywood star.
She gave us love, courage. She showed us the future. She made us feel like.
Okay, now check this out. Now these people, they came from nothing. They literally came from nothing. Okay, that's cool. So anybody can come from nothing and do something, right? But the thing that I'm trying to illustrate here in this situation is that even though they did come from nothing, they used certain methods that they had in their culture. It was already instilled in their culture. It was there from the very, very beginning. We need to go back to our culture and understand what it is, how do we raise funds without having to go to the bank. This is what these people did. So I'm going to read this title. Secret to Korean Business Success, Money Lending Gives Immigrants an Edge. Right. So one person leads each kind. So listen to this. I'm going to read this whole thing from the beginning. They've been accused of having special treatment from the government, stereotyped as shrewd financial wizards, and pigeonholed as the model minority. Check that out. Okay, but the key to many Asian small business owners' success is a certain centuries-old cultural tradition of money lending. Taking the various forms among different ethnic groups, the system has helped many immigrants get off the ground in a way that astounds outsiders. In the Seattle area, the Korean version is called K. It's thought to be most common among Asian cultures. One person leads each K, gathering in 15 to 25 people who each contribute about $500 a month. The typically reaches $10,000, often to $20,000. There are two ways of distributing the money. In a rotation, key members take turns receiving the lump sum each month. In a bidding Kai, members submit bids for the amount they want. The lowest bid wins. Between the total and the bid is then distributed among the rest of the members. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is what they do is they have a form of Without going to the bank, they have a form of lending where they can accumulate money amongst themselves. So that means, depending on what you are, how much money you make. But we have the money. We can do that. We can do the exact same thing. And not only that, it's actually in our culture to do this. So why are we not doing that? It's because we've forgotten our history, because we have basically become more or less, we've taken on this notion of to be an American is to be an individual, to go out there and do these things on our own without the help of each other. So we'll go to the bank, okay, and they will deny us again and again, and they'll deny us with the money we put in the bank. So many of you put your money in the bank, and if you want to go and open up a business, they're not going to give that money to you because they put so many criteria on that it makes it almost impossible for a person to own a business, to get that money from a bank, even though they're using your money to lend out to all these other people and other businesses. And even across the country, across the sea, they are investing in monetary vehicles that creates income for them with your money, yet they will not lend you the money to better your own lives. So these people have taken a route that was totally, it might be alien to us, but to them, it's a way to create an infrastructure where they can get money without going to the bank. They just circumcise. They go around the bank, in other words. Circumvent the bank, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so they just go right around the bank and do it amongst themselves. What is preventing us from doing that? These people are only like 6% of the population, maybe even less than that. And they are able to create a billion-dollar industry in an industry for which black people should be ruling that. Nails. Just think about that, how many sisters go in there and get their nails done with these people. Go into a hair care store and buy their hair products from these people. And I'm not saying that's bad because, if we let that happen, that's on us. They're just taking advantage of our ignorance. But why are we doing that? It's a mindset. It's a mindset, basically what that is. Because how can you let somebody come into your community, and take over an industry for which you are primarily the person that supports them? They do not take that money and put it into your community. They take that money and take it right out and leave and go spend it in another suburb somewhere amongst themselves. They build up infrastructures amongst themselves where they buy products and services from each other. And yet they sell their services to us but don't give anything back. That's not, like I say, that's not bad for them, but it's terrible for us. And that's just something that we got to stop doing that. We cannot continue to do that because we need jobs. And you got people coming over here now from other countries. Whose jobs are they going to take? We got to start looking out for our own people and stop trying to look out for everybody else. We can't keep doing that. That is total destruction for us as a people in this country. Okay, so let me see if I can find another thing up here. Okay, check this out. Now this is a little graphic I got from a website. It says business representation by race and ethnic group, right? Okay, so they got the race on the left-hand side, and they got the population, and they have the level of employment that these people have, meaning the businesses that they create in their community. So you got the white, 75%, right? They control 83% of businesses in this country. You got black, we're 14%. 2.3% Asians. They are only 6% of this country's population, but yet they control 10% of the businesses in this country. The Latinos, they're 18%, and they control 6%. Why are we at 2%? Why? Because we don't do what they do. We don't work with each other to create these kind of businesses. They take what they do. If you go, you see a Mexican, they might have a restaurant, they might have a tire shop. I see down here where I'm at, a lot of them have these food trucks, and they just post them up. They might pay somebody, a gas station or something like that, and you see people supporting them. They go buy food. That's a service that they can use. That's something that they know how to do. Mexican food is popular. So they take what's popular and they create an income stream around that. They take that income stream and then buy other businesses and have other partnerships with other people that look like them and to create bigger businesses. That is what they do, and that's what we don't do because we are so diverse, we are so spread out, we are so busy helping other people to achieve their dreams. We're not achieving our own dreams. Look, check this out. I'm gonna show you another little video right quick. Now this shows where we spend our money at and where other people spend their money at. Now, we have $1 trillion income within our communities. I mean, just annually, black people as a whole. But let's look at this and just see where our money actually goes. Check this out.
It is time now for our Equity and Opportunity Series, and Frank Holland joins us this morning with a closer look at the growth in black spending power. Frank.
Hey, good morning to you, Andrew. Black spending power reached a record $1.6 trillion in 2021. The ability to buy, save, and invest more than doubling since 2000. That growth exceeding the full U.S. economy, but actually lagging other ethnic groups. Latinos with a 288% increase, Asians with a 388% increase in spending power. However, other groups, they've also seen an increase in their net worth. Black Americans instead have seen their wealth actually fall by 14%. And with the S&P gaining 27% last year, the value of U.S. homes increasing by 31% last year, many black leaders are asking the black community to really rethink how it spends.
Save money to purchase the most important asset you'll probably ever own, and that's your home. And that to me is equally important. As I said, I'd put it right up there with arguing or campaigning for or supporting voting rights.
I would love to see us spend more money in the stock market. Instead of buying the hottest new thing, buy the stock of the hottest new thing. And that's something that you can also pass down generation to generation.
Home ownership is typically the biggest wealth builder in the black community. That's actually fallen more than 3% since 2000. And annually, black families accumulate $300 billion less in wealth than white families, and they save $75 billion less. The racial wealth gap now at more than $11 trillion. Back over to you.
Frankie, the statistics are startling and fascinating in so many different ways. Do business leaders and other experts have thoughts on how to stop the trend and what's really behind it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, some of it is simply allocating more capital to assets that at least have the potential to appreciate, things like houses, stocks, and bonds. Other reasons are systemic, and that's why about 1 out of every 5 black family has a negative net worth. Right now, systemic issues, redlining in housing, disparities in education, and other issues that are going to take a longer time to address.
Black consumers possess more power and influence in the retail market than more than any other race before, right? Okay, so look at this. Before given their growing buying power and population rate, in addition to their especially high engagement with social media, activism, and corporate social responsibility, which has been largely shaping industries from inside out. Now, we create the trends. We create the style that the world follows. Think about that. We create all of that stuff. People follow our lead on basically everything as far as style and culture in this country. We have created that ourselves, but we don't dominate it. We don't control it. Everybody else controls it. Everybody takes it, and then what they end up doing is taking it over. You know, just for example, just take the haircare industry. That was the industry that we started with the braids and the hair and the lace fronts and all that kind of stuff. That was the industry that we created. But who runs that right now? You got Asians running that. And they have blocked us pretty much out of it. You know, we got We got our sisters, and I'm not saying nothing bad about our sisters because we all want to look beautiful, and I want them to look beautiful. But I want for us to be able to control that, control that income that comes from that. We support these people. We send their children to college off of this money, and they do it right in our community. They just come right in the community and just buy a store, and we would just support them wholeheartedly, even though they following us around, thinking we thieving, we're going to steal from them. Yet they know that we are the reasons why they are eating every day. And that ain't got nothing to do with prejudice. That's just common sense. Here we go. Okay, so African-American population has historically held an extremely powerful position in the retail marketplace, as they have been known to drive trends across food, beauty, media, and more. Think about that. Just stop it right there. We are the driving trends, and just think about this, in food, in beauty, in media, but we don't control it. We are just consumers. We are just spenders of our money. So, like I said earlier, we spend all of our discretionary income outside of our community. None of it really comes back into the community so we can employ our children, so we can employ our spouses, so that we can build industries around the things that we control, like food, beauty, and media. Black people have a high preponderance of using cell phones, to using media, using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Those are avenues that we can create income streams around those things. We don't even use it to market. We just use it for consumption, to play games with, to make pretty little TikTok videos with, stuff, things like that. That's why we are being slowly, systematically, in my opinion, being phased out of the economic base of this country. Because of things like that, we have to change that. We got to change it, because if we don't, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? What do we do? If we don't have the income, we got to stop spending money with everybody else and start spending money with ourselves. That means people out here in the community have to be able to be willing to take a risk to help each other out so that we can create those things. And that comes down to trust. We have to learn to trust one another to create these businesses, to have that money pool, and it's right there in our community. So let me keep on going right quick. Average credit score for people by race. Asians, 75, 745, whites, 734, the other, whoever that might be, Indians, whatever, Hispanics, 701, and look at us, 677. That's terrible. That means that most of us, as a general rule, cannot go to a bank and apply for a loan because they're looking at that credit rating. If you got a credit rating like that, you're going to pay the highest interest rate imaginable. That's even if you get the loan. So I'm thinking there are other alternatives to accumulate those funds to start our own businesses. And one of the main ones that I think of right now is the church. The black church collects $15.5 billion annually. Just think about that. Why couldn't we use those things that, say, like these Asians do, these Korean people use, where they have a fund where someone can go and buy, put money into a fund, distribute some of that fund for business ownership, for loans, for maybe small micro businesses. Somebody want to open up a hair shop, or might want to open up a restaurant, or might want to open up whatever that is, have those funds available. We spending all this money in the church to make the church beautiful, and we buying all these cars and all this consumption stuff, and we're spending with everybody, but we're not spending with ourselves. So all of that money is just being dissipated out so that we can't use it to create any kind of power base for our own people. That just has to stop. We can't keep doing that, y'all. We can't keep doing it because that's the main reason why if somebody gets stopped for a ticket, you go to jail. Some people can't even afford the bond fee. Or if you get a fee, that stuff just accumulates more and more and more. Why? Because you don't have the money to stop that. You don't have the money to hire a lawyer. You know, you might get caught and they might make you, what's that word I'm trying to look for? When they have you cop a plea. You might not even be guilty, but they tell you, okay, you can get out, just go ahead and do this, and now you're on paper for 3 years. So you mess up, what do? You go into jail. It's more fees. Eventually, they might go to jail. But money makes the difference. Money is the differentiating, I can't say that word. That's a big word. It's the thing that makes us able to live or die, be able to create opportunity or to fight oppression or not fight it. Money is the difference. And we have the money in our churches. We have the money right there, but we got to use it. We have to understand that. We have to be able to utilize those things. Something else I want to say. This is a part of our history. Thing called SUSU. It's in the former loan club. We can use things like this to, like I say, grow businesses, be able to have the opportunity to give to our people so they can open a business, get a loan without going to a bank and have to go through that terrible process where they looking at you. They got your money. Like I said, they got your money in the bank, but they're not giving it to you. See, this is just another way. It's not the only way, but I tell you what. If other people can do that, if these Koreans can do this, if these Koreans are doing this, why can't we do that? If they are doing this, what's stopping us from doing that? The thing comes right down to, like I said earlier, it comes down to trust. We have to trust one another. We have to learn to trust one another and have an ultimate goal in mind. We just can't go in and just say, I'm going to do this. It got to be a reason why we're doing this, to better ourselves and our families' lives, to make sure that we are independent from a lot of these things that happens to us. So if I get laid off from a job, I can come in Uncle Bob's store and work until I get on my feet. But being able to have that advantage, the opportunity has to be created, and it has to be created from us. It can't be nobody else. It has to be us to do that. Let me see. It's it just comes right down to the fact that in order for us to get up out of the things that we are in right now, to stop all of this, I think a lot of the reasons why we are the way we are is because of the media, because they put all of these things in front of us, all of these toys and all of these beautiful, nice things, but they only give us certain avenues that we can go down to acquire these things. If you ain't a basketball star or a football star, or you done graduated from college, got a good job, or something what we call a good job, what is your avenue for acquiring these things? And if we don't have a sense of purpose behind that, where we are saving money, say not for a new car, but to create a business so that we could be independent from a job, so that we don't have to go to a job for our daily bread, to have someone tell us how to live our lives on an everyday basis. See, that's the point I'm trying to make right there. That's the most important point I'm trying to make. I want you to look at this video I got. This is a brother. He's passed now. He done went to ancestors, but his name was Amos Wilson. And I've been listening to this guy for years. This brother is straight cold with it. And he was a psychologist, but he explained it in such a way that it makes it very plain what it is and the reasons why we do what we do. And this is just a short video he did on the talk show he was on. Just listen to what he says, and it's plain and simple. Check out the video.
Leadership in Broadcasting. Amos Wilson, our topic is the psychology of self-hatred among global African people. And we had a caller just a moment ago who raised the economic dimension, and certainly, I guess, the economic possibility. I constantly have had conversations about the potential that we have in terms of being an economic force. And there's no point in repeating the numbers of us who are in churches, community organizations, and how in just one weekend, you know, we could raise, you know, obviously enough money to create our own banking system in one weekend. Professor Wilson, that last caller was reaching out.
That's in part the effect of the self-hatred, which leads to a squandering of economic resources. The inability of the black community to use this tremendous economic wealth for its own interests is indicative of the issue we're talking about here today. I hope to get around to talking about, when I talk about the effects of dealing with self-hatred, one of the effects, of course, is the misspending of money. And
how so, though? How does that work?
Because the money is misspent, again, to relieve pain, you see, to compensate for inferiorities. And because the individual has been reversed, which we'll have to explain at some later point, you will see a situation where almost inevitably the spending for getting over an inferiority complex involves spending the money with the person who gave it to you in the first place.
Wait a minute. There's something you had a thing about anger and resentment binding the oppressor to the oppressed.
Yes, and this is a part of the aspect of it, you see. You want to buy the approval, you want to buy, you mentioned even in the Garvey statement, you want to buy the products that restructure the image. And because you see, the essence of controlling people is to provoke a desire in them. And then, of course, have control of the satisfaction of that desire. You see? And that's at the foundation of the capitalist system and of the economic system, you see. And you can provoke that desire in them either through anger, through hatred, through direct tantalizing of the individual. See, the key to being in the ruling class is to create desire first and to have control over the resources for the satisfaction of the desire.
So provoke a desire, then service the need.
Then service the need.
Yeah.
But you also lay the conditions down for getting the need service, and that way you create the need.
So think about that. They put all these things in the media that entice us to want them. We spend our money with them. They create the need, and then we spend our money with them. They fulfill it. We come away with basically something trivial because it only lasts, it doesn't really mean anything. We can't do anything with it. So in order for us to really, to get that thing again, you have to go back to them. So why couldn't we start creating those things for ourselves, spending that money with ourselves? You dig what I'm saying? See, man.
In the process. And you create the personality in the process. So,
and those who can't get into that don't fit.
No, not at all. So the idea is, if you're cursed, often we say your behavior then will involve trying to get the person to remove the curse, which sends you back to the individual, asking their acceptance. And, of course, often they will make a few demands on you, which you have to fulfill before you can gain that acceptance back again. If you feel as if, and see what happens when we were robbed, and we are robbed as people, we see who have it, but who has what has been robbed from us. But we also forced to buy back because we can't buy it from ourselves. We don't have it. Because when we try to compensate for a loss of status by dressing well, we got to go to Bloomie's or somewhere, you know. When we try to compensate for a loss of status by buying a house, we go to the white community, you see. Or by eating at, and we want to show those people that we're as good as they are, so forth. You see, all of this effort to compensate and prove something and to be accepted and all of this kind of or to escape is going to send you directly back to the people who created the situation in the first place.
Amazing.
You see, so it works very beautifully. That caller had an implication there that again, people don't deal with, except I've seen Chancellor William deal with it in this book, and I try to get people to understand, read the whole of the Chancellor William book, because often they read it as history, you see.
Let's give book titles here, too.
The Destruction of Black Civilization.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And of course, at the back part of that book, he's dealing with, of course, Reconstruction, and he's dealing with political, social, and economic plans. Of course, when you study the movement of Marcus Garvey, as well as the movement of Elijah Muhammad and others, you see it implied there. And that implication is nation building.
Mm-hmm.
The creation of a national network, economic, social, political network by black people, and a national economic program of development, political, social program by black people. Now, I don't want this to be interpreted as advocating the overthrow of the United States government, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the kind of informal organization that you often find in other ethnic groups that have, so-and-so congresses and Congress of leaders from various regions and situations of this kind that come together and have a policy, political, social, economic policy, which is coordinated nationwide and then into worldwide as well. We have not done that. We have the foundation for it. We have the whole network of black churches. You also saw the network being laid in Elijah Muhammad's system as well. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to have to look at that, see how we can informally set up this kind of network, because once we do this, we can lay the basis for real productive economics. And I was talking later on about how productive economics in the United States is tied to the productive economics of African people the world over. And the economic activity of black people in this country is crucial to economic development of African people the world over.
Professor Amos Wilson.
So, there we go. Everything I was just saying, this brother just kind of like, verified that. We spend a lot of money with everybody else. We don't spend no money with ourselves. We got to stop doing that. So, like this quote says from him, how different would our education be if we went to school to learn to create jobs for ourselves? Very, very important. How different would it be if all of our people, okay, you might have to work for a while for somebody else, but what if you spend some of that time doing something in your community? You're a doctor. You go into your community and get some advice to some people that might need that, instead of having to spend thousands of dollars going to a regular hospital. What if you are an accountant and you donate some time to help people to understand the importance of handling their books in a correct way? How to do taxes in a correct way. You ain't got to get paid for everything all the time. But what you're doing, you have to commit a certain amount of your time to your community. But we don't do that. We spend all of our time in others' community, helping them, giving them our best minds, giving them all of our everything we go to school for. We don't use it. We don't use any of it for ourselves. Any of it. Just look around. Just think about what I'm saying. I'm not talking crazy. I'm talking real talk, because if you see somebody that got a good job, they're working in a Fortune 500 company, they done moved out the neighborhood. That's cool. Move out the neighborhood. You got to do that kind of stuff. Okay, do that. But bring some of that knowledge and ingenuity that you spent all those years in school learning, bring some of that back to your community. That's what I'm talking about. That's the point I'm trying to make right there. That's what this man says right here. On point. Love of self comes first. The love of self comes first. You got to love yourself first. You can't love nobody else before you love yourself. The one loves everybody is the one who does not love anyone. So I'm going to end it on that. I just want you to think about that for a little bit. If you see this video, please give it a like. Hopefully you can share it with someone. I ain't trying to do much. I'm just sitting here just doing as I think of things. I'm just putting them out. You know, this is my contribution. You know, however small it is, but this is what I want to do. So this is what I'm going to do. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great life. Bye-bye.